And on our screen we see Raphael Levy. Now, his draft did not go as planned. He was hoping to get past some white, but what happened actually is that the guy in front of him, he was white red, exactly the colors that Raphael Levy was looking to draft. He did not get very lucky there. 4 people at the draft table were playing white, something that doesn't happen too often. But yeah, what you gotta do, if you start a plan, you gotta finish it. Raphael Levy stick to the plan, kept on drafting white cards, got himself a fine deck, not the best deck, but he said, I can win, it's fine.
And Raphael Levy's opponent in this match is Balazs Varady of Hungary. Balazs hasn't necessarily had quite as much time on camera, but clearly a very potent player making it into this top 8. This is not the sort of format where you can just sort of rock up and open good cards and get there. And actually, as it turns out, Balazs also is a very aggressive deck, and he's the red-white deck at the table. So he's got various of the slivers.
Yep.
And he was taking a lot of the cards that I'm sure that Raph Levy was kind of hoping would end up in his pile.
Yeah, he was sitting opposite of Raphael Levy, so 4 seats away. But he did open a Torncaster sliver first pick and basically never looked back. He kept up taking these slivers, striking sliver, double blur sliver, a battle sliver. So he's got quite an aggressive deck as well, and it will be definitely an interesting match to see.
Yeah, I mean, this could easily be the quickest match. I mean, it's a good one for us to start with because I'm pretty sure that we'll get a chance to jump across to Juza once this one's finished. I can't honestly believe that this match is going to take longer than the Martin Juza match because Juza doesn't do anything until much later in the game.
And there we see Raphael Levy saying he wanted his 1 and 2 drops, not having any of this time around. His deck is a little bit slower. 1 Soulmender he has, 1 Suntail Hawk, and then a couple of Coral Merfolk. But apart from that, not too many 2 drops in his deck.
And Angelic Wall will be pretty good against a lot of Raphael Levy's offense. He's got a Scroll Thief here, and to be honest, Raph is still a tempo deck. It's just that one of the key things that this tempo deck is looking to do is to get Scroll Thief through.
Yeah, and he's got quite some ways to get it. We already see it in his hand. He's got Disperse, he's got Trained Condor, and he's got Master of Diversion. So he's got some ways to get past these blockers.
But this is probably the most 2 drops that you'll see on just about any board in the top 8. You've got 3 2 drops on Balazs Varady's side of the board. A young Pyromancer just entering the fray, and with 2 mana up, any trick that there might be will bring along with it an extra 1/1 elemental.
Yeah, interesting attack there with the Goblin Shortcutter actually. And I don't see there, there's 2 Thunderstrike in the sideboard of Balazs Varady, but there's not one main deck.
He has a shock in his hand, so I guess he's thinking, if there's the block, he's quite happy to shock to finish off and get a 1/1 elemental. It's not necessarily pretty, but he really doesn't want that Scroll Thief hanging around.
Yes, that's probably true. Though he's also representing Show of Valor, which is a card that would have destroyed the Scroll Thief as well, gotten Balazs another 1/1. So reasonable play there by Balazs, and got in the 2-3 damage like this way.
Master of Diversion there basically rendering Angelic Wall irrelevant, but for the fact that there is that shock, and now it has a perfectly straightforward target, kills off the 2/2, along comes an elemental, thank you very much.
Now we've been talking about drawing cards in this format, but this is looking like a straight up aggro against aggro matchup. Not one we have seen a lot today.
And it looks like there's a Fortify in Balazs Varady's hand. He has picked up a few tips from Raphael Levy as to things to do in the format, and Levy hoisted by his own petard here potentially.
Yeah, he seemed to have drafted the exact deck that Raphael Levy wanted to draft. Also Sentinel Sliver, perfectly fine 2-drop, Steel Form Sliver, so he's got at least 6 or 7 slivers. And this young Pyromancer are also very good with Fortify, a card that Raphael Levy is missing in his deck.
And a Marauding Maulhorn there from Varady. That will have to attack each turn if able. There's very unlikely to be an Advocate of the Beast in Varady's 40. But as a 5/3, I really don't think he's going to mind too much.
Nah, neither the Scroll Thief nor the Trained Condor can profitably block there, so we'll have to see. He's going to get in for 5 at least. He might even get in for more, trying to use his Fortify this turn.
So Varady not really got too much to worry from attacks from Levy. He's just got to work out if is anything joining that Marauding Maulhorn.
Now that Raphael Levy, he played the trained condor this turn. He did not keep up 2 planes, so this must say to Balazs, yeah, there's no Celestial Fair, but there might be something else. By keeping up an island, there's 3 cards he could have: Essence Scatter, Negate, or Disperse, and there's these 3 cards you have to think about if you're doing this attack.
There's also the Show of Valor, of course.
Yep, another one. So four cards to think about when you're attacking.
And here, Levy content to say, I'm going to take a bunch of damage, but at least I'm going to kill off a creature without losing one myself.
And now Raphael Levy on the bad end of a Fortify. He won so many games on it today, but it seems like this one is not going to win him the game, might even lose him the game.
So Levy set up to lose his Scroll Thief and take 5, 7, 8, 10 damage here, dropping to just 6 life.
He does still have the Disperse, so he could disperse the Maulhorn Marauder. That way his Scroll Thief would die, but he would save himself 7 damage. But what is his plan after this? If he does that, there's not a very good plan to win. It's just stalling the game, but he's got nothing. He's got an Archaeomancer that can return the Disperse again, but not very much going.
Yeah, this is not a deck that necessarily stalls particularly effectively. He's thinking it through. He's tempted to get rid of the token simply because at least it's not coming back, but the Maulhorn also not coming back this turn, so happy to save 7 life now, and I guess 5 life next turn also.
At least 5 life. Balazs will have to play that creature again. He might not be able to play another one because of this, so it's at least 12 damage that he's saving by doing this.
I think I'd pay 2 mana to gain 12 life.
Yep.
And also he has the Archaeomancer to bring the Disperse right back again.
Now that's at least some. 1-2, usually not very good, but in this situation with all the tokens from the young Pyromancer, it's a start. Raphael just needs to find a way now to get rid of the Maulhorn Marauder.
And there it is again, the 5/3 Beast. It will attack each turn if able. But I'm guessing that there may be another Disperse in its future sometime comparatively soon, though this time Varady unlikely to tap out before combat.
It seems like Raphael is drawing way too many lands for his deck. He told me, yeah, I don't want to run more than 16 lands in a deck like this, and still he's drawing 9 of them and only 5 spells. He's not having the best draws there. At least this, having so many lands allows him to block with the Archaeomancer, then return his Disperse next turn and do the same trick again.
So he's got a very, very expensive Drudge Skeletons, effectively.
Yep, 6 mana.
Yeah. But in the meantime, he may be drawing something better.
Like a Plains?
There it is. The first one's really important. The second one, pretty important too. The fourth one, when there's already 4 islands as well, not quite so exciting. We've already had our first game win over in one of the other tables. Kai Morkrush of Germany has defeated Amit Cohen 1-0 in the first game. That match still going on, of course, but Kai up a game, just needs 1 more to advance to the semi-final.
Now Balazs, he's seen enough of this trick. He wants to get in with more guys. Maulhorn getting in, 2 Elementals, the Fire Cat, and maybe even the Pyromancer.
I mean, Levy's on 13. He's going to have to take a fair amount of damage or lose a bunch of guys here.
Yeah, and it seems like he's just going for the same thing like last turn, saving himself 5 damage. He could have blocked the Elemental there, but if he would have taken at least 6. That would have put him down to 7 life, and that's not a lot if you're facing 4 or 5 creatures.
So Levy kind of spinning for time here, only every turn there's another big creature from Balazs, Varady, and I think his time might be up.
Yeah, his Archaeomancer trick is not going to work forever. If more creatures appear on the board, fogging 1 is not what you want to do. You want to kill them or at least tap them down with some claustrophobia or pacifism. Now Charging Griffin, not the best block either, honestly. We'll have to team up with the Archaeomancer if it wants to kill 1.
And yeah, at this point, 2 5-power creatures on the board. Raph can't really afford to take a hit from either of them.
Well, he can take one more hit, but after that one, he gets very low on life. And with the young Pyromancer still being able to create a token every time Balazs draws an instant or sorcery, it's gonna get very dangerous.
And so the Archaeomancer trick still available. That Disperse has done more work than most Disperses are able to, but at the same time, there's more work to be done than that one Disperse can probably handle. So an attack for 12 here with Levy on 11.
Now we know Raphael Levy does not have a Planner Cleansing. Other ways out of here, I'm not sure. He will need something very strong.
So here he's thinking, if I block the token and bounce the Maulhorn, take 6, go to 5, I mean that Maulhorn's going to be coming right back.
Yeah, this draw is not the one he wanted. He needs basically a fast draw with Scroll Thief, with some bounce spells or a Frostbreath to get through, maybe pair it up with a Trained Condor. But this one, it's not going very well. The shock on the Master of Diversion on turn 3 basically had it all written over it. This game is not going to be Raphael Levy's to win.
And ultimately, somewhat unfortunately for Levy, it may be that this matchup, full stop, is one that is not one his deck is well suited for.
No, it seems like Balazs has the perfect combination of cheap creatures, cheap removal, and the big hits like Maulhorn, Marauder, and the Battle Sliver.
So Levy dropping to 5. The Sliver comes back down. Is there going to be anything more from Raph Levy here? He thinks about a cheeky attack, but there's still a wall there.
Yeah, and the Soulmender not going to help him much either this turn.
As much as Raph Levy has sung the praises of Soulmender all day today,
turn 17, I'm afraid it's not the best one.
Not quite. Shields are up as much as they can be. Let's see how long it takes Balazs Varady to knock them back down again.
5 life for Raphael Levy at this point, so neither the Maulhorn, the Marauding Maulhorn, or the Battle Sliver can connect. He will have to block both of these guys. He can double block one of them, then has to chump the other one. This means that Balazs could probably attack with the Young Pyromancer as well this turn. But it seems like he's playing it safe, content to play like this.
And there's a Show of Valor in his hand, so that Young Pyromancer would have been completely safe.
Yeah, correct. And this way also, should Raphael Levy have drawn a Celestial Flare, he would have lost one of his big guys, and the other one would have died to a double block. So a rather dangerous attack there from Balazs, but it's fine. It's working out fine. Losing one of them, still having the Battle Sliver in play.
And there's Sarah Angel. She was good in Alpha. She's still good now. And Levy scoops up his cards. Game 1 goes to Balazs Varady. He leads the quarterfinal 1-0.
And he was never in trouble in this game. He took firmly control since the beginning. That shock on the Master of Diversion was basically when the game turned around and when we knew that Raphael Levy would be having a hard time.
Oh my. Jace, Architect of Thought, appears to be in play.
That's a Jace Memory Adept.
I apologise, of course it is. We're not in Ravnica. Jace Memory Adept in play. Martin Juza is apparently up a game, but without anything on the board and a Wall of Frost in play. Oh, I apologise, we're in a completely different match. That's a lot healthier for Martin Juza. When we know that Martin Juza is not facing a Jace, Martin's shuffling for game 2, a game up. And over here we have Elliot Busardi facing down Jace.
Wait a sec, is Elliot playing 2 colors?
He never does that.
Did he switch gears? He drafted mono red in the first one, mono blue in the second one? What was he thinking?
And ultimately, up against Anato Chuchkov, he's going to be in trouble here, and it looks like he's scooped them up because that Jace can very, very quickly end games. The 0 ability of milling 10. You know, you only start with 40 cards in your deck in this format. Unless you choose to go rogue and big.
Yeah, three mills from Jace Memory Adept is always enough. you start with 7, so 33 left, and by the time Jace comes around, you've already drawn more than 3 cards. So if Jace get to mill 3 times, it's basically over.
Okay, we've done a lot of talking about Martin Juza's draft. Now we're going to see a little bit of it, because on the right-hand side of our screen, he's sat there shuffling up, ready to play game 2. He's already up a game against Marco Cammilluzzi, who is on the left-hand side of our screen. He's playing red-green, Martin's playing blue-black. Let's see some magic.
Yeah, let's draw some cards. Let's counter some spells or creatures. Let's be Martin Juza, destroying all of my opponents every round in GP Prague 2013.
I mean, Cammilluzzi's deck has some play in it. Let's not say that this match is over. He has a Colonian Tusker. He has 2 Advocate of the Beast. That's one of the more powerful starts that you can have in this format. He's got 2 Briar Pack Alpha, some of the more powerful tricksy creatures that you can imagine. He's got 3 Pitchburn Devils. Those are creatures that, depending on how Martin chooses to deal with them, they'll still deal him a bunch of damage on the way out. He's got all sorts of things going for him. The only thing is that this is Martin Juza, a very, very talented pro, who already says that he really likes his deck.
Yep, and Martin Juza, he's famous for winning GPs.
I asked him how many GP top 8s he had. He kind of just shook his head and smiled at me and said, I'm not quite sure at this point. More than a few.
More than 10?
More than me.
More than 15?
I
believe it's more than 15.
I think so. It's one of those things that Martin Juza was in the conversation for people who were getting votes for Hall of Fame this year. He did not make Hall of Fame this year, but a lot of people were saying he's clearly in the conversation. He just needs to keep on doing what he's doing and he will get there.
Yeah.
A little bit short on Pro Tour top 8s compared to some of the people who have made the Hall, but and indeed to yourself. But his GP performance, he has been an absolute road warrior, going to GPs all over the world and just excelling in them, no matter what time zone he's in. So here, he gets to sleep in his own bed tonight if he wants to.
Yep, and it's also an advantage. If you have to travel, you might be a little bit jet lagged, but this time, just wake up, come to the tournament, build a sealed pool, casually go 9-0, then draft 2 times, force blued in the first one, second one no blue, but still a very powerful black-red, and then he got all the blue on the table. There were only 3 people drafting blue compared to 4 people drafting white.
And one of them was Raph Levy, who moved in late.
Yeah.
Very late.
Too late, maybe?
Quite
We've seen
possibly.
him just lose game 1.
So Cammilluzzi does not have the Colonian Tusker start that he was perhaps hoping for. And I'm sure Martin Juza fairly happy that that's the case. He gets to fire off a divination nice and early.
We'll have to discard a card because it was on the draw, but he's fine discarding a land. He's having a lot of them. Always see a Messenger Drake and I believe another divination as well, along with an Archaeomancer, so he will be drawing a lot of cards this game.
And Cammilluzzi really needs to put some pressure on. Rampaging Balazs, exactly the way to do it. A 4/4 for 4, one of the premium commons in green. Now the question is, how many answers does Juza really have? I'm guessing more than a few.
Yeah, he's certainly got a pair of Liturgy of Blood, so that's one of them. And he's also got double sensory deprivation as we see it in his hand.
So yeah, Martin Juza, we've got his deck here in front of us, his deck list in front of us. He's clearly playing with his deck. Not like while he has got black, he's not got a lot of black removal.
There's actually no Liturgy of Blood. He didn't get any of these.
He's basically a mono blue deck that's splashing some powerful black cards. But those powerful black cards are more in the way of creatures than anything else. So he's got an Accursed Spirit, which will be pretty good here. He's got a Bloodbairn, he's got a Minotaur Abomination, he's got a Sengir Vampire. He's basically said, my blue deck's very good at taking control. If I want to end games, though, might need a bit of support, and that support comes from his black.
Yep. Sengir Vampire already ready in his hand. He's also holding a Nightmare, which will be a 4/4 flying. 3/3, if he plays another Swamp, it will be a 4/4, so he's got quite some big guys in his hand.
So here, the sensory deprived Balazs still has 1 power, and is still attacking in, and a Briar Pack Alpha means that Spore Mound, when blocked, is able to deal with a Messenger Drake. User draws a card, but is a little bit down on life, and Marco Cammilluzzi's board is looking pretty good.
Yeah, he is facing quite some damage, Martin Juza, and he will need to find a way to handle these 2 3-3s, and we also saw that Marco Cammilluzzi is still holding a giant growth, which can be very, very threatening in this situation. Martin might be counting on his Sengir Vampire to block any of the 3-3s, but if then Marco resolved that giant growth, that's not going to be enough.
Marco Cammilluzzi there, concerned that there was enough black mana paid for Sengir Vampire, but of course, Juza, very technically type player, tapped the 2, so he's allowed to have that 1 swamp untapped.
And that 1 swamp means ring flash possible. So something Marco has to keep in mind here.
Cammilluzzi thinking his turn through quite carefully here. A pre-combat giant growth. Now that's interesting. Why do you think that he's made the decision to play it there?
There we see it.
There we see it. Hunt the weak. All of a sudden, somehow or other, Sengir Vampire is the weak one. Succumbing in this fight. Is there a ring flash? I don't believe there is.
Even a ring flash wouldn't have been enough, I believe.
So that Pack Alpha, it's got +3 power, so it's a 3, 6, 7 powered guy. 10, 11, 12 damage coming through. Martin Juza down to just 6 life.
And now another land for Marco, yet another Saproling token. This is not the game for Martin. He can Archaeomancer, get back the Divination, but that's not gonna help him much. He can Archaeomancer and put Blood Baron, which he will be doing, but I'm afraid this will be too late. He will be facing another very dangerous attack from Marco.
And a big attack here from Marco. Does Juza have it in him to stay alive just a little bit longer? The Bloodburn takes out Spore Mound, which is a start.
Martin takes 4. Ooh, and you're talking about big guys. Gigantic sliver for Marco Cammilluzzi. 6-6. Now Martin really needing to draw 2 very good cards off that Divination. The Nightmare won't be enough. Which is basically a nightmare if the nightmare isn't enough.
When a nightmare isn't good enough.
That's a nightmare.
Pretty much. Divination, 4 mana left after he's drawn 2.
Colossal Whale, a little bit too expensive. And Claustrophobia, but I'm afraid he cannot. Well, he can survive actually 1 more turn, but he will have to chump with his Blood Baron on the Pack Alpha. Will still take 3 damage, will go down to 1 with no creatures left. Is it useful to still show your opponent that you do have the Claustrophobia? I don't think it is. I don't think there's a card that gets Martin back in this game.
And a little scratch of the head there for Martin Juza, trying to think if there's anything he could have done differently this game, but Cammilluzzi just, with the Pack Alpha coming down, letting him get the successful trade, putting power on the board, he was just so far ahead on the board that it wasn't something that Juza could deal with, because in point of fact, while Juza's deck has lots of card drawing and some big threats, the thing that's a little bit short on is, honest to goodness, removal spells.
Yep, Doomblade, Liturgy of Blood, even Quack Cygnus would have been fine, but we'll see. He's got 2 Essence Scatter, so these are kind of semi-removal spells if you just get to draw them before the creatures arrive. He's got a lot of card draw to win the long battles. He's not out of this yet.
And here we are back to see Raphael Levy battling against the aggro red-white deck. And that Mutavault, it's got Vigilance because of 1 sliver, it's got First Strike because of another, and it's a 2-3 because of a 3rd sliver. So it's quite the attacker, and everything that's coming into the red zone is doing so in a vigilant fashion. Raph Levy on just 5 life.
So
even
potentially 6.
Sure.
Let's not forget his favorite creature of all time.
Potentially a little less than that, thanks to Sarah Angel, unfortunately. Is there a spell to end it this turn? Have we managed to tune in just in time to see Raph Levy's demise?
Well, yeah, I don't think he's coming back out of this situation. He had to tap down those 2 Steelform Sliver and Sentinel Sliver just to survive 1 more turn, but I'm afraid this game is going to be very hard for him to win.
And Soulmender doing what it does, but Levy now just on 2 life.
Striking sliver, hits the bin. At least one success for Raphael Levy.
And Angelic Wall, kind of a strange addition to Varady's deck there, given how aggressive it is generally. Perhaps a concession to the fact that Varady was sat opposite, like the other side of Raph Levy, and knew that Raph Levy could be being aggressive. And he just wanted to get through the quarterfinals. But
yeah, maybe he did his homework and he saw Raphael Levy draft all these aggressive decks. He wanted to have that extra 0-4 in his main. Well, this is game 2, so he could have cybered it, but we saw it game 1 as well.
Yeah.
So maybe concession. They're not the best card in his deck. Maybe it was just short of playable. We saw a lot of people drafting white in this draft.
A surprising number considering the traditional wisdom about how good it is and how it stacks up against the other colors.
More people drafting white and blue in the top 8 of GP Prague. This is how we finished the M14 format. Every pro was wrong. White is the color to draft.
Let's see who's holding the trophy at the end of it, hey? So Raph Levy now, deep in the tank, trying to figure out if there's any way that he can pull things out just a little bit longer, survive, and potentially turn something around. Serra Angel on its own, the first thing that he needs to deal with. And for that, I think he's going to have to lean on Trained Condor.
Yeah, maybe double block together with the Charging Griffin will be a start. Then the Scroll Thief might be able to block one of these slivers, which will survive. The Soulmender will gain another life, but Balazs still having these 4 or 3 cards in his hand. And he has not played a 6th land yet, so these must be spells.
Mutavault enters the fray. The fact that Mutavault's a sliver, very relevant in this limited format.
Yeah, and it's one of the nice flavors coming out of M14. They brought back Mutavault, one of the old school cards being played in Modern and Legacy. Now fitted the sliver team perfectly, and that's what they went for.
So it looks like with this set of blocks, Levy could finish on exactly 1 life thanks to his Soulmender.
Yeah, but he's losing a lot of creatures here. He's losing the Soulmender, the Karl Merfolk, the Charging Griffin, and the Trained Condor. So he will only have the Scroll Thief left, where his opponent will still have the Mutavault and the Sentinel Sliver. And a little Angelic Wall.
The Angelic Wall basically just saying, you know what, Scroll Thief, no theft today.
No.
And yeah, Levy's thinking it through. I think it probably is the best set of blocks he's got, even though it's not great.
No, unfortunately, there's no way for him to kill the Steelform Sliver and the Sentinel Sliver. He does not have enough power for that, unless he lets go the Serra Angel. But I think he'd rather have the Serra Angel die here. Just like this, if he draws another creature, he might be able to survive at 1 life. All depending, of course, on Balazs this turn. Another land, that's good news for Raphael. He's surviving this turn. And he will have the Archaeomancer. Does he have an instant or sorcery to return?
We didn't see the start of this game. I would guess that there's probably something in there they can fetch. Like, he would have loved to have seen a Hive Stirrings or similar, just so that he was able to get some kind of a creature. Bright lights in the feature match area. Raph Levy's very used to them, but they do mean that we can't quite make out his graveyard, so that Archaeomancer is going to be as much a surprise to us as it is to Balazs Varady.
Now Raphael seems to be thinking, so there must be at least 1 target. If there's no target, then there was no use of thinking. So, yeah, there's a Frostbreath. And it seems to be also a Hive Stirring, so difficult choice here for Raphael. Does he go for the long-term plan? I think he should go for the Hive Stirrings. Just get himself 2 blockers. Frostbreath is fine for 1 turn, but the turn after, you're still pretty much looking at a lethal attack from Balazs.
So his sliver's not quite matching up to the slivers on the other side of the table, but if they can double block one of them, I'm sure that he'll take that.
Yeah. Or even Scroll Thief together with one sliver kills the Sentinel sliver, and then he trades half a Hive Steerings with a 2/2.
And that Marauding Maulhorn, a little bit trickier to block that one.
Ooh, a Banisher Priest for Raphael Levy. Is he finding a way back into this game?
And I've just had a message that we're going to be holding the user match, so we get to see the deciding game of the user match after this one finishes.
Sweet.
Banisher Priest taking out the Maulhorn. And Varady, is he drawing bricks or is he just being super careful? It's kind of hard to tell.
Yes.
Levy's drawing extra cards though, and a couple of planes. Not quite working out for the team captain of the French World Magic Cup winning team.
I'm sure he would have loved himself an opportunity here. Or a Colossal Whale, both of which he passed.
Both of which ended up in Martin Juza's deck.
Yep. And it seems like we've got our first semi-finalist.
Is that Kai Mokrosh of Germany defeating Amit Cohen 2-1? I think it is.
It is.
Congratulations, Kai. You're in the semi-finals. Of course, all of this top 8 qualifying for the Pro Tour. If they weren't qualified already, we know that a certain Mr. Raphael Levy and Martin Juza are already mainstays on the Pro Tour. We will be seeing all of them at a Pro Tour very, very soon. But for now, Varady just needs to work out whether or not he can quite eke through. Levy now at least has some kind of a board.
Yeah, and he drew Claustrophobia this turn, so he could up to tap down at Angelic Wall. We've been making fun of it, but the Angelic Wall is stopping the Warden to attack. So yeah, there we see it. Raphael starts the attack now. Balazs at 13, go down to 11, so 5 more turns and he might be dead. And yet another land for Balazs.
And he just has to pass again. Levy kind of knows that he's living on the edge here, but he's just got to do everything he can. And conveniently, his opponent is just drawing lands.
Blur Sliver for Balazs.
That looked like a Thorncaster Sliver, actually.
Did it?
If that's the case, that's the game, right?
Yeah, it is. But I'm not sure. It could be. He's also got 2 Blur Slivers. So if it's a Blur Sliver, that's fine. If it's a Thorncaster Sliver, that's not so fine. Yeah, it is a Blur Sliver.
So Juza and his opponent are front row in watching this game. Juza and Raph Levy, good friends, and I'm sure that as much as he would hope to play as soon as possible, he's very excited about his deck. Also excited to see Raph Levy playing in this top 8 match.
Balazs drew generous Outrage there. He's tapping 4. He's going for it. Is this the handshake?
Oh,
it is.
There's the handshake. Balazs Varady wins 2-0. And you can see Raph Levy, he's so intense when he plays. He's got to be feeling it. And it's especially painful that he effectively lost to the deck that he had so much success with in the draft portion of today.
And the card he was drawing was a Fortify. He would have killed his opponent the next turn.
So Martin Juza now very keen to get going. We see some really quick turns initially, with each player successfully hitting their mana, and a Predatory Sliver from Marco Cammilluzzi. Divination from Juza, pretty much all going according to script here.
Well, except that he could have used an Essence Scatter on turn 2 if he had it, but seems like he didn't.
Mana Weft Sliver there from Cammilluzzi, so all the Sliver action going on. Will it be acceleration next turn? Will it just be a big attack? Either way around, it's pretty good for Cammilluzzi, right?
If it's a Megantic Sliver, that would be a pretty big one to resolve. Claustrophobia not going to help against that one. Martin Juza has all the card throw he wants at this moment, has another Divination, has the opportunity, but will he find the answers in time? Or will Marco Cammilluzzi resolve one of his big guys?
Sliver's particularly resilient to a lot of the blue removal because, in point of fact, much of it is enchantment based, and the impact of those slivers is still felt on the board. The best that user can really hope for is using a disperse at the exact right moment, or a time ed perhaps, in order to keep the board just empty enough to make some favourable attacks.
Yep, change the math completely by an instant trick on the predatory sliver, for example. Seems like he's just content drawing some more cards. Draws 2 islands, but he still got for 1 blue the blue swords to plowshares, sensory deprivation.
In many respects, assuming that he's not killing any of these creatures later, they're functionally identical. They're both 1/1s with +1/+1 and the ability to tap for mana.
Yep.
So which one's he going to choose?
He's gonna choose Mana with Sliver, I bet.
You're a smart man. I should learn more from you.
Now Marco Cammilluzzi is having a strong hand. Briarpack Alpha, Pitchburn Devils, Rumbling Bailouts, I believe as well. No, he's just going for the Briarpack. No, it seems like Rumbling Bailout. Yeah, there he goes. Adds another 4/4 to his board, and Martin Juza, while having all the big draw spells in his hand, he does not have a threat or a removal spell to handle that Rumbling Bailout. Claustrophobia will come down this turn, but after that there will be more 3/3s for Marco.
Marco's deck literally just completely chock full of massive monsters, and Juza, we said, you know, he's got tons of card drawing. The thing that he might be lacking is a little bit of removal. As much as he's been able to deal okay thus far, Cammilluzzi can just keep the threats coming.
Yeah, and it was what I was a little bit afraid of in his deck. He does not have any 1 or 2 drops, as I said, just some Essence Scatter. His deck seemed a little bit slow to me. It seems like this is exactly what's happening. He's facing down quite some creatures already, and all he's got is some card drawing, in like 2 Archaeomancer and Opportunity, but no creatures to play, no creatures to block here.
Yeah, I mean, he's already drawn 4 extra cards, but he's facing down things like Spore Mound, which is immediately followed by a land to make a 1/1, and Cammilluzzi able to just sort of swarm around and get things done.
Yeah. Marco Cammilluzzi still having Pitchburn Devils and Briarpack Alpha, so he's having a very good hand. Martin Juza will need very strong cards here off of his Opportunity.
So this an attack for 6. Martin Juza on 8 life. Colonian Tusker right on time. The 3/3 for 2, joined by Pitchburn Devils.
Yeah, there's so many creatures on the board for Marco Cammilluzzi. We've talked about how good Opportunity is, but this one, I'm afraid it's gonna be too late. It's turn 6, but he's facing so many power. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. At least 13 damage he's facing. That's quite a lot on turn 6.
Absolutely, and while Martin Juza may have drawn 8 additional cards this game, he's on just 8 life, and he's going to need quite a lot to work out in his favour to be able to even survive it 1 more turn.
Yeah, he just did not get the time to resolve his spells. He did not draw an Essence Scatter. He basically, all he drew was Archaeomancer and Divination. That's just not good enough against Marco Cammilluzzi's very powerful red-green creatures.
So a concerned look on Martin Juza's face here. Desperately trying to figure out a way of somehow making it through this turn and taking things further. He's got a Messenger Drake. Cammilluzzi draws. Briarpack Alpha in Cammilluzzi's hand means that whatever gets through unblocked is getting even bigger.
Yeah, this game's over. Martin Juza will have to use his trick before damage, and then Marco Cammilluzzi will just be able to Briarpack Alpha. There he shows it. That's enough damage. Exactly, well, 9 damage.
Marco Cammilluzzi wins. Martin Juza, he went for the called shot on Friday, and he got closer than I think any of us could have realistically expected, because it's a 1,500 player GP. No one can turn around and say, you know what, I'm a lock for this. And to be fair, how Martin put it, but he did feel very, very confident. That confidence entirely justified, but at the same time, sometimes you kind of hit a brick wall. In this case, the brick wall was Marco Cammilluzzi's very aggressive red-green deck, and it looks like aggression is the way that this top 8